What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Before I begin, I want to say thank you so much to each and every single one of you for helping this channel to become what it is. The channel has grown significantly over the past week or two. Thank you so much for your continued support. If you like what you see and you enjoy the content, especially if you're new to the channel, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, comment in the comments section below, and hit the bell to receive notifications. If you want to help to support the channel financially, I do have an eBay store called the Carolina Collector 001. The link is in the description box of every video, short, and live stream that I upload here on YouTube. Also, if you want to make a donation to the channel, click on my Ko-fi link. That link is also in every description box of every video, short and live, that I do here on YouTube. Thank you so much to my friends, family, neighbors, YouTube viewers, supporters, subscribers, eBay customers, one and all. You are all amazing. So I want to get into a little bit of eBay sports card talk here because many of you are eBay sellers like myself in particular. A lot of my viewers and supporters are eBay sellers and also buyers of sports cards. So I've reached an impasse with my eBay store because over the past, I want to say month to 2 months, I've seen a significant slowdown in my eBay sales. As a result, I've had to make a lot of changes with my eBay store, and because of those changes, it's yielded some results, and I've been making sales once again, not in the capacity that I'm used to, but it's just selling off stuff that I don't need, don't want, things that don't fit me, like jerseys or clothing or whatever it may be, or just stuff I have laying around that I don't use anymore. It doesn't pay to have it sit there if I'm not going to use it anymore. Let somebody else have a little enjoyment with this stuff. And it's been, hit and miss with a lot of those sales, but I am making sales nonetheless. So that's always a good thing. But there are changes to the way I've been selling baseball cards in particular, because that's been my bread and butter for, I'd say, 26 and a half months at this point since I started this LLC on eBay. And because we're still in the middle of summer, well, actually, summer's coming to an end. September's right around the corner, folks. My God, this year has gone by fast. And there are a lot of factors, at least in my opinion, as to why my eBay sales have slowed down the way they have. One, of course, like I said, it's the summertime. People are not spending disposable income in a way that they used to because, let's face it, summertime means the kids are off from school. People are on vacation. People are sitting back, relaxing. They're not spending their disposable income. School's right around the corner, as a matter of fact. So school starts in my area not that long from now. They're actually having school supply sales at Walmart where I live and the other brick and mortar stores that are here in Charlotte where I live. So parents are going to be spending their money on their kids when it comes to that kind of stuff. And, the economy has a lot to do with it. Of course, I've denounced President Trump, even though I am a conservative voter. Unfortunately, Trump has dropped the ball with a lot of things, including the high gas prices. The price of gasoline is still high, unfortunately, because of his pathetic war with Iran and what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, unfortunately. Grocery prices are high. I mean, prices are high across the board with everything. Pardon me. Then you have to deal with his tariffs. I've been victimized by this, like many of you have been victimized by this, especially if you're a YouTube content creator that goes out of your way to buy stuff, let's just say like this. I will get around to reviewing this guy, believe me, I promise you. But, I had to pay a tariff on that to get it here from across the pond, unfortunately, from Asia. And these tariffs sometimes could be $13, they could be $25, they could be $35. My Bayern Munich jerseys run me at least $30 when it comes to these tariffs. It's insane. So now you're having to dole out more money and more money and more money. That's not what I voted for. I voted for Trump because I wanted to see change. And unfortunately, that change is not coming the way he promised it would. Where are these stimulus checks? I really don't want to get into the politics in this discussion, but unfortunately, politics has its feces smeared all over everything, so it's unavoidable these days to not talk about politics. But unfortunately, President Trump has dropped the ball with a lot of things, and, it's costing people more and more money. I see it myself when I go out and shop for groceries. Thank God Walmart has at least been trying to make some kind of effort to keep the prices down. But, like with many of you, I'm suffering with this really shitty economy. It sucks. Now, when it comes to the sports card hobby itself, obviously everything's about the parallels, the autos, the numbered parallels, relics, all that kind of stuff, or a combination of any of those three in one card. So the low-end spectrum tends to be ignored completely, and for some people, they don't even waste their time trying to sell low-end sports cards. They become junk wax 2.0, especially in the modern age of collecting. As we saw on Striker Breaks channel, which I talked about here on the channel, he sat back with a whole bunch of 90s and 80s junk wax cards in his backyard and lit a bonfire with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of junk wax cards, essentially, removing probably a couple hundred, maybe even thousands of cards out of the junk wax pool. But they were so overly produced, unfortunately, that nobody has any interest in them. As a result, well, they ended up in a bonfire in his backyard, And today it's very difficult to sell low-end sports cards. Obviously I'm an eBay seller. I'm not just a consumer. I buy stuff off of eBay all the time, but I am a seller, and there's a lot of low-end sports cards out there. So how do you stand out in a crowd with that kind of competition? Well, a lot of it is my own neglect, because for a long time I was listing a lot of high-end sports cards, autographs, parallels, graded sports cards, all that kind of stuff, and ignored the low-end sports cards almost completely. And as a result, they've been sitting there for over a year in some cases. A lot of those listings are super old. The information in them is wrong. The way I used to list them manually. Now, thank God that eBay has the card scanner, which, by the way, they updated recently, I should say, and added listings from, or databases from Golden and TCG, so that this way, you can basically take a picture of your card, it'll run it through the database, and then you can comp your cards that way, and it's made life a whole lot easier, so I don't have to sit there and do everything, manually anymore. I mean, there's still little tweaks you have to make here and there, but it is improving. But a lot of these listings were still listed with the older way of how I used to list cards, especially with the card scanner. Once I reached a certain point with my eBay sales, my eBay rating currently is at 100%. I was able to get that back, and was able to use eBay's card scanner. But I had the original version of it at first before they updated eBay's app. And the way I listed cards was basically a copy and paste. And a lot of those listings, unfortunately, and of course eBay uses an algorithm, I've had to correct the words so to make sure that it gets into the algorithm's circulation. So what I've had to do recently, and it's very tedious, folks, and be patient with me. You guys know I do come through eventually, but I had to go back with a lot of those listings and correct the titles. For example, if you want to use the term rookie card, you put it as RC in brackets, and that helps it stand out a lot more, because a huge majority of baseball cards, and even football cards, basketball cards, etc., any sport, will have an RC in brackets. It helps it to stand out. In other words, it's shorthand for rookie card. So making that one little change helps. Photographs obviously help. I'm going to have to go back and, take brand new photos. For right now, I'm focusing on just correcting the listings. A lot of my cards, because they've been sitting there for so long, and I've actually recently, as a result of these changes, have sold cards I never thought I was going to sell. But lowering the prices on a lot of these cards has helped. I've had to go back and recomp all my cards. I'm putting most. I think there's maybe like a dozen cards that I am comping at what they're going for currently in the market. But a majority, I'd say about 97 to 98% of my cards at this point are going to be listed at a baseline of 99 cents. Because most of my older listings, in particular these low-end baseball cards, were severely overpriced. In some cases, they were overpriced by 10 cents. In some cases, they were overpriced by 50 cents. In some cases, they were overpriced by $1 or more. But because in some cases, I actually had to go back and just pick cards at random and then do a search through eBay in and of itself and compare my prices to my fellow eBayers' prices. Unfortunately, it's the shipping rates that people are charging that throw these listings off. I have a base shipping rate of, I believe, $1.11 at this point, where everybody else has it at $1.32. They have it at ground shipping at $5. Some people are shipping for $3. So that throws off the algorithm. So, shipping prices, I believe a lot of people are overcharging. Be careful with that. That's a big trick that people use to gain extra money, is that they will tend to overcharge you with shipping. So I set that baseline for one single card at $1.11. That's where it should be. Any lower than that, I'm risking returns. And I think I've had one return in so many weeks. Actually, my shipping has improved. I haven't seen any issues with shipping. I did have one customer that didn't receive a card after more than 30 days and emailed me and said, hey, man, this thing didn't show up. I think it was a Ronald Acuna Jr. 2023 Topps Chrome Lids Mitchell & Ness card. I have plenty of them in stock. I sent them a brand new one free of charge, but I made sure to upcharge the shipping just in case. So what I did is I printed out a $1.11 standard eBay, a shipping label, and then threw another stamp on top of that. I went to the post office just in case this happens. I will from time to time add an extra stamp just to increase the postage, just to make sure it gets to the customer, so that this way these people, as USPS, every post office station has its own set of rules. They don't abide by universal shipping rules. They just do whatever they want, when they want, how they want, and unfortunately us eBay sellers are susceptible to the randomness of what each individual post office station does. So unfortunately, I've had to do that. Many of you that have bought cards off me, you'll see that if you order 3 cards and I pack an envelope with those 3 cards, the base shipping cost usually is $1.32. But usually when you buy those cards, the shipping really comes out to like $3 when you pay for it. So I'll slap the extra stamp on there, well, because you paid for it. You know what I mean? So, and then I'll try to refund the difference in the shipping, but it's just because of the post office. They are the enemy of us eBay sellers. So I've had to adjust my shipping rates that way. A lot of the shipping rates were underpriced, so I've had to get them up to spec for today's shipping costs. Unfortunately, the post office did raise their rates this year, so I've had no choice. But again, a lot of those low-end sports cards were really overpriced, so I've made sure to make them at a baseline of at least a bare minimum at 99 cents. And I've started to see results. And of course, I've been promoting all my listings at 2%. So instead of eBay taking 13% of my take, they are now taking 15%. But, having a lot of these low-end sports cards, with the exception of a few that I've listed at market rate value, which is, I think the most expensive card I have up there right now is a Gunnar Henderson Topps Chrome Mitchell & Ness rookie. At the time I'm making this video, it's listed at $8.99. I think that's the most expensive card I have up there at this time. But everything else is set at a flat rate of 99 cents across the board. So take advantage of it, folks. And I have noticed results, especially with the 2% promoted listings, where my listings get bumped up just a little higher because I am a 100% eBay seller with a high selling rate. The algorithm does tend to boost me that much higher. But again, because of the amount of competition with these low-end sports cards, I've had no choice but to promote my listings. And it is yielding results. I'm not seeing the kind of sales that I'm used to, but I am seeing sales nonetheless. So there's really nothing to complain about here. I can't make people spend money. I am no Dark Side Phil. I am no the Jeremy Hamley, the quartering. I'm not these type of individuals that tries to browbeat my customers into buying my stuff. You buy my stuff because you want to buy my stuff, not because you have to, or because I browbeat you. I understand the economy sucks these days. I understand that right now we're still in the middle of the summer, and people are spending their disposable income on vacations and trips, or maybe you're just staying home, enjoying your time off or whatever it may be. School's around the corner. Maybe you need money for school supplies. I get all that kind of stuff, man. Believe me, I'm very astute to this sort of thing. Don't forget, I'm not just a seller. I'm a customer. Almost everything. Pardon me. Almost everything, jersey-wise, hat-wise, supplement-wise, I get on eBay. So I'm not just a seller. I'm a consumer. So I try to be very understanding of this sort of thing. So, to try to make it easier on my eBay customers, coming down on my price, I've already got, at the time of this video, again, I don't want to dox my customers, there's one fulfilled order, and again, I don't want to dox my customers. But I've got 2 eBay orders right here I got this morning, and right now it is almost 11 o'clock my time, Eastern Standard Time here in Charlotte. So there are 2 more orders I need to process and get out today. So they're coming in little by little, all because I made these corrections. I recomped all the cards with the eBay scanning tool. It's been updated. It has a better database. The options on it are a lot easier to maneuver. I've had to change the titles and change some of the terminology and the listings in and of themselves so that this way they circulate a lot more accurately and correctly in the eBay algorithm. I've lowered my base price down so that people can afford these cards. They've had to be recomped anyway. Eventually, with some of these cards, I'm going to have to go back again, take brand new photos of them, because a lot of the photos I have, because a lot of these cards have been sitting at my eBay store's page for over a year now. I'm surprised that a couple of them have actually sold. Some of my older listings have actually started to sell because I've recomped them, lowered the prices to where they should be, and keeping a lot of these low-end sports cards at a base price of 99 cents. And it's yielding results. It's all just time and patience and seeing what works and what doesn't, folks. But this is how I've been doing it. Maybe you have a different method. My method, is not the end-all, be-all. Maybe you have something else that you're doing that I'm not doing that works better. Whatever works for you is fine. This is what's working for me so far. Let me know in the comments below what you folks are doing, if you're making any changes to your eBay store. And the only thing I can say is just good luck to my fellow eBay sellers out there. Again, I'm a consumer, so I get all of this stuff. But, the goal is to move product and to put some money in my pocket. And it has been yielding results making all of these changes. So far, so good. Even if I sell 1 card a day or 1 card a week, I consider that a victory, because that's $1 I didn't have in my pocket at the time, so God bless, you know what I mean? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. I'll see you all very soon.